Have you ever caught yourself wondering if she's thinking about you the way you're thinking about her? I mean, not just casually, but in those quiet, wandering moments when no one else is around, when the mind tends to drift toward places it probably shouldn't. There are certain psychological triggers that, when activated either intentionally or without realizing, can cause a woman's thoughts to start lingering on you in ways that are far from innocent. What's fascinating is that many men are already using some of these without even knowing it. They're subtle, almost invisible in how they work. But when you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, it can feel like unlocking a hidden language that her emotions respond to before she even realizes what's happening now. Imagine this moment for a second. You're standing in a crowded room. The noise is loud, voices are overlapping, glasses are clinking, music is echoing just slightly above the buzz of conversation. Instead of raising your voice to compete with the chaos, you lean in closer to her, not aggressively, not forcefully, but with calm intent, and you whisper something only she can hear. And in that split second, the entire world seems to narrow down to just you and her. That's not just social finesse, it's neuroscience. When you whisper, you force her brain to prioritize you above everything else in that environment. Psychologists refer to this as selective attention. You've made her focus entirely on you, and in doing so, you've just entered a place in her mind that's reserved for connection and intimacy. What makes whispering so powerful isn't only the fact that it's quiet, it speaks to something ancient and primal inside all of us. It's the way our ancestors shared secrets, warnings, intimacy, and vulnerability. So when you speak to her in that low, subtle tone, her subconscious reacts before her logical mind even has time to catch up. It makes her wonder what else you might whisper if the moment were more private, more intimate, more charged. And once her imagination starts, it rarely stops where it should. Modern neuroscience has shown us that the brain processes whispered language by activating areas responsible for physical closeness and emotional warmth. So you're not simply communicating words, you're creating a sensory experience that she feels. Now consider another moment. You're telling her something interesting, the kind of story that draws her in. She's listening, laughing maybe, leaning forward slightly, and just when she's completely engaged, you stop mid-sentence, okay? You smile, you say you'll be right back, and you walk away on purpose. You leave that thought unfinished. And just like that, she's stuck inside. This isn't a game, it's a psychological principle known as the Zeigarnik effect. Human minds have a natural tendency to focus on what's incomplete. We're wired to want closure. So when you remove yourself in the middle of a story or interaction, her brain keeps the loop open. She's no longer just wondering what the end of the story was. She's wondering about you, where you went, what you're doing now. When you come back, and every time her thoughts return to that unfinished moment, she doesn't just replay the words. She replays the feeling, the presence, the attention, the possibility. That small interruption becomes the birthplace of fantasy, because the mind fills in gaps with emotion and imagination. This longing for resolution, what scientists call cognitive closure, drives her curiosity. And curiosity, when it revolves around a person, becomes desire cloaked in mystery. There's another subtle, yet undeniably powerful action that shifts emotional gears in an instant. You're looking at her, you make eye contact. Then, for just a second, your gaze drops to her lips before returning to her eyes. You don't say anything, you don't do anything else. But that one movement creates a ripple through her subconscious. Her brain picks up on it, mirrors it actually, and begins to focus on what you just implied without saying a single word. The glance at her lips isn't about being suggestive, it's about awakening her awareness of closeness, the physical tension, of what might happen if the air between you shifted just a little. And it works because it's so brief. It's not overt, not dominant. It's fleeting enough to make her question whether it even happened, but the impact lingers. Studies on human attraction show that people naturally gaze at lips when they're imagining a kiss. So when you give her that signal, her mind responds in kind. She may not admit it to herself, but she's thinking about what your lips might feel like. Canned, that thought, once planted, tends to take root. Imagine then, during a casual moment, you're telling her a story and you gently place your hand on her arm for just a second. Maybe it's a light touch to emphasize a point, a brief moment of connection. But then, just as naturally, you pull your hand back. Okay? You continue speaking as though nothing significant just happened. Okay? What lingers in her mind isn't the touch itself. Okay? The sudden lack of it, her skin still remembers. Her mind begins to fill that small void with possibility, with what-ifs. That's contrast psychology at work. The absence becomes more powerful than the presence. The anticipation becomes more memorable than the touch itself. And there's something else occurring here beneath the surface. The hormone oxytocin, same chemical that bonds people emotionally, can be released through gentle, unexpected touch. But when you withdraw that touch unpredictably, you create intermittent reinforcement. This is the psychological mechanism behind addiction, the same principle that makes people pull the lever on a slot machine again and again. She doesn't know when the next moment of closeness will come. And so every interaction becomes charged with meaning. Now here's a scene that captures curiosity like no other. You're in conversation, things are flowing, and then you stop mid-sentence. You pause not because you forgot what you were saying, but because something in your eyes, or the way your lips curl into a subtle smile, suggests you're thinking about something you're not saying out loud. That smile makes her wonder, what just crossed your mind? Was it her? Is it something playful? Something private? Something that only you know? That moment becomes its own kind of mystery. And humans are wired to solve mysteries. This phenomenon is linked to what's called the information gap theory. Our brains crave answers when we sense we're missing something. And the more emotionally charged the missing piece, the stronger the pull to uncover it. Your silence, your half-smile, it invites her in. It makes her curious. And in trying to figure you out, she thinks about you more deeply, more frequently, and with more imagination than she probably expected. Now picture a moment when you're close enough that she can feel your presence. You lean in slowly, and then say absolutely nothing. Just for a beat, then you break the silence with something unexpected, maybe even lighthearted. That moment before you speak, that gap filled with anticipation, is pure psychological energy. Her heart beats faster, her awareness sharpens, body, and more importantly, her mind prepares for intimacy. And when the tension breaks with a playful remark, what you've given her is a cocktail of emotions: anticipation, surprise, relief. That's a combination that stays with her. Research on anticipation reveals that the buildup, the moment before something happens, is often more exciting than the event itself. You're not just creating attraction, you're giving her brain something to replay later, something to savor. Then there's that glance. It's the one that says exactly what you're feeling, no words needed. Maybe it lingers a little longer than usual. Maybe it carries that unmistakable edge of desire. She catches it, she sees it, and in that instant, she knows. But then just as quickly you break the tension with a soft chuckle, a grin, something light. And now the moment feels playful instead of too intense. You've shown her desire, but you've also shown control. That's the emotional sweet spot. Psychologists call this the benign violation theory. You've broken a social norm by expressing clear attraction, but you've done it in a way that feels safe, even charming. You let her feel wanted without making her uncomfortable. And that balance of intensity and warmth, of edge and safety, is something she'll keep coming back to in her thoughts. And finally, there's the parting moment. When you're deep in conversation and things are going well, maybe even better than expected, but instead of staying longer, you're the one who ends it. You say your goodbyes first. You walk away while the energy is still high. That decision, though subtle, changes everything. You've just used the scarcity principle in its purest form. 'Cause now your time is valuable. Your presence feels limited. And limited things are always more desirable. She's left wanting more not because of something you said, but because of the feeling she's now chasing. And where does she go to find it again? In her thoughts? In her imagination. It's where she replayed your words, your tone, your smile. And wonder when she see you again. Now look, none of this is about manipulation. It's not about tricks or games. These are real psychological mechanisms that govern how attraction builds and lingers. When used with honesty, when approached with genuine confidence and warmth, they allow her mind to feel what it naturally wants to feel, but rarely gives itself permission to. I know these ideas raise questions. Maybe you're wondering if she's doing any of this with you right now. Maybe you're trying to figure out if you've already sparked that kind of curiosity in someone. And maybe you're realizing just how subtle but powerful these triggers can be. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you, what moment, what concept, what insights stood out. Drop a thought in the comments because these conversations, they're only just getting started.